Alright, so let's talk about why it flippin' worked. We know how it flippin' works now, so I want to talk to you a little bit about why I think these folks at Stony Point High School were so successful. And the first and foremost thing is it does not depend on technology at home. When myself and the other 6th grade teachers tried to do some flip classes last year, even the students that had technology at home didn't all watch the videos. I mean, you can still assign it and you can say, okay, tomorrow we're going to be watching these videos. You can go to my YouTube channel and watch it, and they can still do it, but they don't have to. Okay, it does not depend on technology at home. It's totally with what you've got in the classroom, or you can open up the room in the morning and have them come watch it. You can maybe work out something with your librarian or technology teacher to have them come by and watch it, but it doesn't require technology at home, and I think that's very, very important for us here in Seguin. The students that we talked to felt very in control of their own learning. They could go as fast or as slow as they needed to. If they didn't understand something, they can talk to the teacher and learn about it more or get a better explanation of it. If they knew it, they could just whip through it fast and be done with it. In fact, one of the classes when we were watching, Miss Angrisa had the students actually asked her, "Could you show us this on the board?" And it was the majority of the class. She actually was standing up in front of the class teaching, but that's what they wanted her to do. "Could you show us how to do these problems, Miss A?" And she did. And there was a few of them that didn't need that or didn't want that, and they weren't listening, but they also weren't disturbing the other ones. Okay, so the students are more in control, and if they're more in control, they're comfortable, they're going to be more successful. The classroom is automatically differentiated because of the self-pacing. Okay. The students are going to kind of automatically group themselves by, with other students that kind of work at their same pace. You can control the grouping if you want to, but these two teachers did not control the grouping, and it worked well for them. They had students that needed more help. They spent more time with those students. They had students that needed less help. They didn't have to spend as much time with them. They would even take the packets and differentiate them a little bit. And if I recall correctly, they were all the same, but they would tell certain groups, okay, well, I want you to do 1, 3, and 5, and then show me that when you're done, and then explain it to me. Or the other ones, they may have them do them all. It's very, very easy to differentiate. It's automatically differentiated. So when your principals are asking you, hey, how are you differentiating? Boom, I'm doing this. This group over here is special ed. This group is ESL. I'm working with these separately, and they're doing their own thing. It's just would be wonderful for differentiation. Because the students had to get the approval of the teacher before moving on, this teacher knew where each student was in his or her learning. They were telling us, oh, well, I know so-and-so over here struggles with this a little bit more. This one over here is doing great. They're moving on forward to the next thing. You will get to know your students so much better because you have to have one-on-one conversations with them when you are checking for their understanding before they're moving on. It's automatic formative assessment. You just check with them before they move on. You know where they are. You record, they were recording their grades based on how they were answering those questions. And basically Mr. Veve said, well, they either know it and give me and they get 100, or they don't and they have to go back and redo it. So, it was very, very good for the teachers knowing where the students are. The teacher becomes a facilitator. You're no longer standing up in front of the class like Charlie Brown's teacher going wah, 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 wah. You are facilitating their learning. This is what everybody's saying we need to be doing. Well, if we are organizing our classes like this, then it works. And that is exactly the way we saw these two teachers working with their students. Most of the time, they were just walking around the classroom, talking to the different groups, seeing where they were, answering questions, checking for understanding. Okay? The one case where the students asked the teacher to go up and teach them on the board, she did, but then she went right back to being facilitator. It was fabulous. They both said, compared to the way they used to teach, there were so many fewer behavior problems. Mr. Veve, well, most of his were pre-AP, I'll give you that. He had written no referrals last year at all. Ms. Angrisa had written, she said, 2 or 3 referrals, but they all had something to do with something that was going on while the students were outside the classroom. Like, had asked to go to the bathroom, but then ditched class, or something like that. She had no behavior problems in the classroom at all. The students are working at their own pace. They're comfortable. You know where they are. You know, if they're done, they get to move on to the next unit or the next lesson. There's no wiggle room in there for them to misbehave. It worked out really well. And, you know, I can sit here all day long and tell you about how great it was, but I think if you give this a try, when you see it working, it just made sense. You know, I just was walking around that whole day while we were in there just going, oh my gosh, the light bulb was just shining bright. This is what I've been looking for. I've been, you know, experimenting, dabbling with flipping. It just all made sense and the light bulb went on, and I really think it will for you also.